Thanks for tuning into the Zelos Podcast, the show that's all about the pros behind the pros. I'm your host, Rocky Snyder. This week, Pam Baker is joining me. She is a nonprofit leader, CEO, and founder of the Women's Coaching Alliance. But before we get underway, be sure to check out my website, rockysnyder.com, if you're looking for podcast archives, maybe my weekly blog. But we also have continuing education online and in person. If you're an athletic trainer, a chiropractor, physical therapist, strength coach, personal trainer, we've got something for you. So just go to rockysnyder.com. And also, I want to just spend a minute acknowledging our sponsors. This episode of the Zelos Podcast is sponsored by Kinetic IQ, where intelligence meets motion. Kinetic IQ brings a biomechanics lab into the palm of your hand, letting you measure movement anytime, anywhere, with just an iPad or an iPhone, and no wearables required. I've been using Kinetic IQ's markerless motion capture in my own practice, and whether you're screening athletes, analyzing posture and gait mechanics, optimizing performance, or guiding return to play, it helps practitioners like us save time, capture more objective data, and make instant actionable decisions. So to learn more about how Kinetic IQ is shaping the future of intelligent movement, visit them at kinetikiq.com. That's KINETIKIQ.com. You know, I can't tell you how thrilled I am to have Metabolic Elite be one of the sponsors of the Zelos Podcast. You know what makes Metabolic Elite different is their commitment to real results. I've seen a lot of supplements and performance enhancement things over the years, but they pair clinical experience with innovation, like Lipitab, their proprietary solid-state liposomal delivery system. It's a chewable format which enhances absorption, like nutrients like BPC 157 and synapses. They're delivered more efficiently in the body, supporting recovery, focus, cognitive health. Their formulas go beyond the basics, solving performance health challenges at the system level. Every product is tested for quality, it's backed by research, it's trusted by athletes and clinicians alike. So learn more at metabolicelite.co. And you can get 10% off all of Metabolic Elite products by entering the coupon code ZELOS, Z-E-L-O-S. And before we get underway, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Rocky_Snyder, S-N-Y-D-E-R. Click subscribe, give us some comments, tell a few friends, enjoy the show. Pam, thanks for coming on Zelos Podcast. First of all, it's great to have you here.
It is great to be here. Thanks for the invitation, Rocky.
Well, it just comes back around. I got an invitation to your gala event last month where I got to hang out with some superstars. San Carlos, California, the Women's Coaching Alliance, kind of a fundraising event. But you had, well, it was nice to rub elbows with all these people, whether it was the founder of the Women's National Football Conference, Odessa Jenkins, hanging out with Reggie Stevens, who was on the podcast a few weeks ago, used to play with the New York Giants. Now he's here in Santa Cruz, helping kids just exceed in life. But just so many people. You've had the Bay FC, people from Bay FC were there, and then the new football team for Golden State, whether it's tackle or flag football for women. I mean, you know how to get people in. And don't even get me started on your silent auction. There was no way my wife would speak to me for a month if I even won one of those items. Those things were top end. Oh my gosh. So
It's some fun
first,
stuff, right?
oh my gosh, it was so good. It was so good. And the appetizers and just the atmosphere, it was amazing. You should feel so proud of what you've built. But tell the audience what you've built. What is the Women's Coaching Alliance and how did it
Well,
get started?
thank you for that kickoff because nobody's going to want to miss next year's. So we started the Women's Coaching Alliance 3 years ago here in the Bay Area, and we are on a mission to develop female leaders through coaching youth sports. And so what that means is we connect with young women ages 15 to 26 who've played a sport and are interested in coaching younger kids. And then we interview them. And if they make it through that interview, we pair them with another young woman. So she's coaching in a team of two. And then we partner with recreational sports organizations who are looking for more coaches. Generally, they're looking for parent coaches and falling short pretty much every season, which means kids don't get to play. So they partner with us to say, hey, how many coaches can you provide? And we take these young women and we take them through an in-person leadership academy where they learn to introduce themselves to parents. They learn how to organize kids. They learn how to run practices. They know the sport that they're coaching, but obviously it's different to play it than it is to teach it to someone else. So we help them kind of remember their memory, if you will, of what it was to learn that sport for one of the first times. So they have a co-coach, they get training, they get an adult mentor who works with them throughout the season, because our focus is how do we develop leaders, and we're using the experience of coaching as the way that they do that. So the mentors are working with the coaches to set some goals for the season, monitor progress, where do they need some additional support, help when they have a difficult conversation with parents, and so on. And we call this experiential leadership program because this is one, as you know well, Rocky, you cannot phone in coaching. You have to show up, you have to be prepared, you have to know who is on your team and how to motivate each kid on that team. So this experience, and as these young women go into it, they get paid for that experience of getting trained, coaching, practice plans, running games, communicating with parents, communicating with the sports leagues. And our expectation is that we are front loading these invaluable but also transferable leadership skills to these young women before they head out into jobs and careers. So they should be just a great group of young women that organizations want to hire for themselves.
Love your tagline, Coach Today, Lead for Life. I mean, it
Yeah.
says it all. That's spectacular. So where do you find, I am imagining, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but female athletes that have gone through some kind of organized system that want to continue on, and that would be a hotbed of recruitment right there. Maybe local colleges and universities. I mean, where do you find the candidates? How does that happen?
Yeah, so it's a few things. It is going to athletic directors and coaches who are coaching girls' sports. It's going to those recreational sports organizations. So AYSO and soccer is a good example. We've worked with them since we started 3 years ago. And oftentimes they have the gals who started in AYSO, and they might still be playing at an older league, or they're still in touch with them, so they can say, oh, these are some of the young women that you want to get involved. We are in the process of trying to connect with more of the college aged athletes, and I will say that is a space where we're still trying to figure it out, largely just from a network perspective. But those are some of the places: athletic directors, coaches. It's often the adults in the community who are really involved with kids and sports and so on can say, these are the folks that you want to talk to. But the nice thing is that that outreach needs to happen generally that first season, and then in subsequent seasons, the coaches kind of do all the outreach for us. They talk to their friends and their teammates and they say, oh, you got to get involved in this. And they do a lot of the marketing and outreach for us, which is, it's good because, as you can imagine, a teenager hearing about it from their friend or their teammate, it means a lot more than reading, some email or an ad on Instagram.
Okay, give me the background story though.
Yeah.
How I know there's a story of inspiration here. Please share.
Yeah. So the background is, or the inspiration was my husband. He was an athlete and he was a great coach. He was really the product of some great coaches himself. And we've got twin daughters, and as soon as they got old enough to play sports, he was the first one to raise his hand and say, I want to coach, because he saw the impact that a great coach can have. But every season, he would try to get more women into coaching with him because he knew that they would benefit from having a female coach and role model. And he would as well, trying to understand these female beings. And every season, he would come up short. and he would say, "Where are all the women coaches?" And so he was diagnosed early on in the pandemic with pancreatic cancer. It was stage 4, so he passed away about 2.5 months later. So it went really quickly. And we were in August of 2020, and we couldn't do kind of the normal things that people wanted to do when somebody passes away because of COVID. So we worked with our local Parks and Rec Foundation and said, can we set up a fund in his name to try to accomplish what he was really focused on? And that was getting more women into coaching sports and giving more kids the opportunity to play sports. And I will tell you, Rocky, I had no idea at the outset what that meant because I hadn't been a coach. My background was on the corporate side of the world. And so I had to go out and ask some very basic questions that your listeners will probably think, well, that's a really silly question. But the first one was, what makes a great coach? And I
Mhm.
honestly didn't know what what the qualities were of a great coach. And as I listened to people's responses, the things that they said are how I would have responded if you asked me what makes a great leader. And so that was the first insight, that great coaching is great leadership. And it sounds so obvious now when I say that, but it really wasn't obvious to me at the time. And so we thought about the different groups of women that we could get into coaching, moms and retirees. And both of them, moms were like, I have a plate this full. Retirees had a bucket list they wanted to accomplish. And then we talked to young women, and they were a group of athletes who were in high school and college. And we asked them about this idea of coaching younger kids. And what was interesting from them is they were super intrigued by the idea for a few reasons. One is most of them had had no or very few female coaches in their experience. They generally liked the idea of working with kids, and they liked the idea of sport having done something powerful for them and giving that back to younger kids. So there was clearly a hook. And then I said to them, well, what would get in the way? What would make you not want to take this opportunity? And they all sort of looked at each other, if they're sitting in a row, and one looked at the other, are you going to say it or am I going to say it? And one of them said, dealing with the difficult parents.
Mhm.
Well, that's kind of a deal breaker. But then at 3 a.m., which is where the good ideas happen for me, I realized that the skill set to deal with difficult parents is the same skill as dealing with difficult clients and bosses and direct reports and vendors and you name it. So if we could front load this experience for these young women of navigating challenges, developing resilience, learning great communication skills, learning how to lead a team with the support of an adult along the way, then could we give these young women really powerful skills as they head out into the world? So that's the
Okay.
backstory, and that's what we
So
created.
this podcast is a selfish pursuit for self improvement on my part. I invite people that are now my captive, and I won't even say audience, my captive. You are captive with me for a little while here, and I want to learn. I mean, that's the whole purpose of this podcast itself, whether the listening audience shares in that pursuit or not. It's really okay, how do I deal with difficult clients if I'm a personal trainer? How do I deal with difficult athletes? How do I deal with difficult sports agents? How do I deal with difficult members of the stakeholders, whether it's the medical or training staff? Like, how, okay, please teach me. How do I deal with difficult situations and individuals?
Yeah, I think a lot of it starts with listening, starts with an understanding of where are you coming from. And it starts with a one of the things we talk to our coaches about is setting clear guidelines at the beginning of the season of this is how the team will run. This is what we are all about. These are our values, and coming up with those as a team. And I think that helps to say, like, this is okay. This is great. This is exactly what we're looking for. And this is not okay. And this will not stand. And so that we do find helps to minimize some of that bad behavior. Does it get rid of all of it? Of course not. But I think a lot of it does, again, start with Where are you coming from? What are you saying? And what maybe sits underneath what you're saying? And this is where the mentors are invaluable in helping these coaches, because oftentimes the coaches are on the front lines and the mentors are sort of at a little bit of a distance, and they can help them process it after the fact. Okay, what did you hear? How did you respond? Is that how you wanted to respond? What do you think the impact of that will be? And if you had it to do over again, what are you going to do differently? So I will absolutely say, does it go perfectly the first time? No. In many cases, it doesn't go particularly well. But quite frankly, we are about developing leaders. We're not about developing perfect people. And part of leadership is making some mistakes along the way and learning from them and saying, okay, that I want to carry with me forward. That one I want to leave in the trash bin, and I want to do it differently the next go around. So a lot of it is trying out different approaches. And the nice thing with this dual coach model is they get to see how each other handle different situations and they learn from each other. So that's a real benefit as well of, oh, I hadn't thought about doing it that way, or I hadn't thought about saying that, but I want to adopt that the next go around.
Your mentors are coaches, obviously, and there must be some type of qualification screening process or whatnot. Like, do you have certain core values that you are looking for within these mentors? How do you select, right? How does that work?
Yeah. So we look for people who have either coached in their past, or they have led, or they are leaders, or some combination of the two. And what we really care about is that they are interested in helping develop young women, and they come to coaching in a way that is aligned with our values. We coach at a rec level. We want at the end of the season that kids return for another season. And we know that happens when they learn some skills and they have fun. That is our focus. It is not all about the score, it is not all about winning. So that's a really important piece that we screen for ahead of time. Why is it that you want to do this? What is it that draws you to sports? What's your experience? And when we hear I want to make sure that we get the best kids out there because boy, I want to get them out there and playing in college and the pros and all the rest. That's great. If that's your interest, that's not a great fit for our organization. So that's a really key piece of what we do. Another piece is that we ask our mentors to stand back. And it's really interesting. Every mentor that we talk to says, of course, I get it. And then those difficult experiences come up. And most mentors will tell us when they're being really honest that those are the hardest times not to step in because they know how to solve it because they've been there. And yet, at the end of the season, when we ask our coaches, what are you proud of? What is a situation that you would handle differently, but you learned from in the process? Where is a place that you've grown? Those are the situations that come up. So we tell our mentors, please don't take those away from these young women because those are invaluable growth opportunities. And I don't know about you, but the situations that I have learned from the most are the ones that I look back on and I go, oh my God, I do not want to do that again. And you can be darn sure I don't do it again. And that's part of the benefit. But these young women don't have to do it on their own. The mentors are there to help them make sense of, course correct, learn from, and so on.
And the mentors are not gender specific. You've got men and women mentors.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. And so paint the picture, if you would, Pam, about like what would that look like? I'm just imagining a soccer pitch,
Yeah.
but it could be a basketball court or anywhere else. But I'm imagining the mentor basically sitting over by the ball bag and just kicking back and watching the practice take place.
Yep.
Or is it only during game time? Like are the mentors present when the coach that's in training is rolling it all out?
We ask the mentors to be at as many of the practices and games as they can be. And then to meet with the mentors or with the coaches for about a half hour every week during the season. And that's just an opportunity for them to say, What went well? What didn't go so well? What do you need some help on? And sometimes it's things that are just about what's going on in life. A lot of these gals are applying to college and they are stressed because of college applications. And so sometimes it's like okay, here are a few techniques that I have to lower my stress level so that I can move on to be productive for the rest of the day. So sometimes it's very coaching specific, and sometimes it's a really caring adult who's there for them, supporting them, and helping them be their best. When they are there at games, usually they're sitting or standing with the parents. They're there just as an observer. And the reason that we ask them to be there is because it's way more powerful for them to see the coaches in action than for the coaches to try to translate the experience to the mentor to tell them what happened, because oftentimes they miss a few of the things that have happened. I know for myself, sometimes when I try to facilitate a meeting and participate in a meeting, it's really hard to do both because your focus is different. For them, the focus is the kids and the team and executing on the plan. And then for them to pick up all of the additional nuances is kind of tricky. So that's part of the role that we ask the mentor to play.
I love it. Honestly, it's just so refreshing to hear that this is helping to encourage more women in a leadership role. I mean, well, on my YouTube channel, I've got a playlist as Women in Sports, which is basically all the women that have been previous guests on this podcast. But many of which I consider mentors myself. For me, Dr. Andrea Hoodie with the University of Connecticut and the women's basketball team, Meg Young, who is the head strength conditioning coach up at the Seattle Sounders, the men's MLS soccer team there, also coach of the year with the NSCA, Sue Falzoni, who was the first athletic trainer in Major League Baseball, who was with the Dodgers, went away, developed a whole program for the Houston Texans on return to performance. And now she's back with the Dodgers for the second year. She's got World Series rings, and she may very well have another one coming up. But these are people that are highly influential in my life. And and I like to think that I'm colorblind and gender blind, although truth be told, I know that I have to work at that. It's not something that comes naturally because of the generation that I was raised in, but I'm just very fortunate to be open, I guess, to accepting leadership, information, and guidance from any source. And it's really great that you're expanding this. Speaking of expanding, okay, so you start in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, for those aren't familiar with that, and now you're dropping down into the Los Angeles basin, and you're over in New York City. I mean, okay, this is where your corporate background, I think, is probably really pivotal here, because when we grow sometimes too fast, a lot of the wheels start tumbling and falling off the cart. So, how is it, two part, how is it that you're growing in these metropolitan areas, and how are you keeping the success continued in those regions too?
Yeah, great question. I just want to go back to one thing you said though, and you talked about, I think, being blind and colorblind, you think. One of my hopes from this experience, because our coaches coach boys and girls, is that having women out there as coaches and role models normalizes this idea that, of course, women are just as likely to be a leader and a coach as men will be. And so hopefully over time, we can shift that expectation of, oh wow, she's a female, to like, yeah, so what, no big deal, just the norm. So it will it's going to take us a while to see that impact, but that's our hope. So yes, we are very excited. We launched in LA County this past fall, and that was thanks to a grant from Gatorade that allowed us to go there, which was awesome. So we worked with two different communities, their AYSO regions. So we had 10 young women who coached with us for the fall. And it's thanks to another generous grant that we are going to the New York area next year. And so as we go into new markets, we're thoughtful about who are the right partners for us that really focus on that rec level coaching, but also starting in a way that we don't get out ahead of our skis. So we start with just a few teams of coaches because we recognize that coaching in every geography is going to have some different nuances. And just as an example, we've been coaching in Pasadena and Claremont this past fall. And one of our mentors, as we were training our mentor group in LA, said, are your coaches prepared for some of the trauma that kids may have experienced from the fires earlier this year? And it was
Ah,
a great aha for us of saying we hadn't thought about that because we personally hadn't been affected. Many of us know folks who have been, but it's things like that that are very location specific that if we had a huge group, it would have been much harder to do anything about. But with 10 young women, we can then say, okay, great, let's figure out how we make sure to prepare them for the season ahead. So as we head to New York, we'll do something similar. But what's really important to us is that we not go into a community and coach for a season and then, suddenly we're gone. We want to build a foothold and grow from there. And that's what we've done here in the Bay Area. We started in Burlingame and we did that for a year and a half. And then we expanded to the surrounding areas. And, within 2 years, we had 7 different communities. And then last year we had 10 and so on. So that's really key as we go in and say, we want to build a presence here. We look at a multi-year engagement as opposed to here's what it's going to take to coach for the season. And as you might imagine, one of our values is learning and growth. None of these young women are great coaches at the outset, and we hold ourselves to that same standard. When we went into LA, we learned some things that, wow, in retrospect, we might have tweaked those a bit. So as we go to New York, we'll learn from those experiences. And it's really important that we do because we're now at a point, we've got folks from San Diego and Denver and Cleveland and Kansas City who are really interested in the work that we're doing. So our demand is outpacing our supply. So making sure that we are learning quickly and adapting how we do what we do is really key.
we're just going to take a quick pause from this conversation to acknowledge our sponsors, and then we'll be right back. The Zelos Podcast is sponsored by Kinetic IQ, where intelligence meets motion. Kinetic IQ brings a biomechanics lab into the palm of your hand, letting you measure movement anytime, anywhere with just an iPad or iPhone. No wearables required. I've been using Kinetic IQ in my own practice, and whether you're screening athletes, optimizing performance, or guiding return to play, it helps practitioners like us save time, capture more objective data, and make instant actionable decisions. So to learn more about how Kinetic IQ is shaping the future of intelligent movement, visit kinetikiq.com. That's KINETIKIQ.com. At the forefront of metabolic elite is Jim Lavelle, internationally recognized clinical pharmacist, a chief science officer at Lifetime, and the co-chair for the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. He's got over 4 decades of experience and has guided Olympic athletes, professional teams, and leading health institutions. You know what makes Metabolic Elite different is their commitment to real results. Like LipidTab, their proprietary solid-state liposomal delivery system. It's a chewable format which enhances absorption like nutrients like BPC 157 and synapses. They're delivered more efficiently in the body, supporting recovery, focus, cognitive health. Their formulas go beyond the basics, solving performance health challenges at the system level. Every product is tested for quality, it's backed by research, it's trusted by athletes and clinicians alike. Wow. So the sports, I can imagine you most likely started with one particular sport in mind, but then started branching out to multi-sports. How is that working out? Like what kind of elements do you have to address? First of all, how many sports do you have coaches within in the alliance?
We've coached 9 different sports so far.
All right, with more on the horizon.
Perhaps we're a bit opportunistic when it comes to sports. When we have the people in the sports organization, we say, do we have the capacity to do that? And if we do, and then building practice plans and so on, then we will. But that's been our approach so far.
What are the sports, if you don't mind me asking?
Yes, I don't mind, but I have to go by season. So soccer, cross country, flag football, volleyball, basketball, softball, track, lacrosse, and tennis.
Wow, that's great. Now, colleges and universities tapping into the coaches there. Do you have mentors that are from college and university settings?
We haven't yet. And again, that's one of the things that I'm really interested in. That's a nut we need to crack. We've got some really good support from coaches at both Cal and Stanford. I think there's opportunity in the community college space. As I think about it, it's a lot about connecting with the athletes, and it's probably not your D1 athletes who are traveling a great deal and have very heavy workloads. It's probably the club and intramural athletes who really love the sport but aren't playing at quite an as intensive a level. And then I think it is then saying, okay, how do we get more of the coaching staffs involved in their off seasons as well? So not something we have really executed on yet, but are looking forward to.
Fantastic. Okay, strategic partners. Who do you have?
Yeah, so we've got a number of kind of sports partners that we work with, AYSO, YMCA, Parks and Rec. We've worked with the San Francisco Giants Community Fund, the YMCA. Those have been our big ones. And then we're fortunate to have support from all the major Bay Area professional sports organizations, 49ers, the Warriors and the Valkyries, Bay FC, the Giants. I'm probably forgetting somebody. So
And is it what's the new team coming to Golden
Golden State
State?
Storm.
Storm.
Yes, yes, they have
Yeah.
been great partners. So we're very excited to work with them both on the tackle side and also on the flag side. And flag has been super fun to watch just in terms of the explosion and seeing all of these gals out there learning a new sport together. It's really been fun to watch.
And of course, that's going to be an Olympic sport, or at least it'll be an exhibition sport. I don't know if it'll be a medal sport or not in LA next year. So I'm wondering, like, your corporate background is like one of your superpowers, as I'm seeing it, when it comes to coordinating efforts here and the corporate structure and the organization and expansion, laying it out. So when it comes to the Summer Olympics, there is a tremendous hotbed of excitement that is toward women, whether it's the women's soccer team, whether it's the flag football team, basketball team. I mean, we can keep on going. So how, if you are, like, how are you going to capitalize on that? Especially
Yeah.
being down in LA. Do you have a plan on that? Or is it
So
something
we've
that's in the
been
making?
actually, we just had a conversation yesterday with LA 84. They do a number of grants. And so we're thinking about how we can tap into those to allow further expansion. My sense is the Olympic organization is pretty focused on the Olympics itself and executing a great games. That said, in the run up to the Olympics, there will be more grants and support for the local organization. That's one of the reasons we wanted to be in LA, was to be able to take advantage of that over the next couple of years. And I think we'll see something similar after the Olympics. That's how LA 84 came into existence, was how do we continue to support the local community after the success of the Olympics? So we may find our way into some other good connection points around the games. It might be that we can get some of our coaches out there volunteering and helping at the game. So I think that's a lot of that is still to come. Actually, I'm on a panel next week with one of the women from LA Parks and Rec. So we'll be having some conversations about what's to come in the next couple of years that they're thinking about, where some of their needs are. So yeah, we see that as a huge opportunity.
No, that's great. Yeah, there's definitely a few outlets that I can think of, and I'll share with you after the show's over, where but networking potentials I'm happy to connect you with. But one that I'm thinking of right now is My organization I've been a member of for since the early 90s is the National Strength and Conditioning Association. So these are the strength conditioning coaches primarily, but the sports scientists, the ones that are behind the scenes with organizations like the Golden State Warriors and Bay FC and San Jose Earthquakes and all that. But they have themselves, the NSCA has a women's committee mentoring program, and it
Oh,
is basically there to support, develop, and enhance the advancement of women in strength conditioning and related professions. So the NSCA, it's rather new and forming, but it is basically a program that runs for 6 months, May to October, and and their mission is to balance out the fields, to help with the advancement of women in S&C and for that matter anywhere, including coaching. So I think that would be a great partnership for the NSCA's part to align themselves with what you're doing because well they're national and they've got a fairly good outreach. So we'll have to connect you
great.
there.
I'd love
Yeah.
that. Yes, it sounds like they'd be a great partner for
What are your
sure.
growing pains?
Our growing pains are making sure that we are ready to go into a community when we say yes. If I said yes to all of the people that would like us to come there, we would not be able to be effective in the communities where we're coaching. And to be candid, that pains me because I
Mm,
would love to give more young women the chance to lead early on, partially because what I hope these young women experience is that they change the talk track to themselves that many women have, which is, oh, but I'm not ready for it. I haven't done enough. I haven't been trained in it. I don't have a degree in it. And I think we tend to have this belief that we have to have all of the pieces buttoned up before we are ready to take that leap. And my hope is that because none of these young women ever think that they are going to be good coaches at the outset, and yet they take pride in what they've accomplished by the end of the season, is that this creates a different track for young women where they start to say, I'm not sure if I can do this thing, but I wasn't sure I could do that coaching thing either. And I did, and I survived, and I learned from it, and I got better from it. So maybe I should take this leap before I think I'm ready. It is this confidence building that I think is the root of what we do. And I think if we can send more young women out into the world as confident leaders, that will be a job really well done. So, to your question of our pain points, it is about having to say no sometimes because we know that is the best thing for the work that we are doing now. As you might imagine, it's a lot about funding. And when we can get more funding in the doors, that allows us to build our infrastructure stronger so that we do have the resources to be able to support those different geographies. And we've got a great team. They are incredibly scrappy and work hard and do an amazing amount. I mean, one of the jokes that we often hear when it's a little bit like Oz, people actually see the team that is behind all of this and they're like, where's everybody else? And it's pretty amazing to see what our team manages to do, but that's not sustainable over the long term. So getting the support, getting the sustainable funding in to be able to do that on a broader scale is really what we're focused on.
are you the grant writer?
I do. I am writing. I am reviewing grants. So
Uh,
we do now have somebody who does a lot of the front end stuff. I will review and refine and tweak. So that's a plus because when I'm the grant writer, it's not nearly as good as when other people are writing the grants.
I so I've been involved with some fundraising events over the years, and the thing that I recall the most in terms of given advice that sank home with me is that we're not asking for people's money, we're providing them a chance to help others. And if you come from that perspective, then it's a completely different mindset. Look, I'm providing you an opportunity. That's what we're doing right now. I'm giving you an opportunity to help. And it seemed like when we were at your event, that's exactly the kind of message that was being sent out. First of all, okay, the event was spectacular, but the auction items, who's in charge of getting, because those were like jaw dropping. These are autographed photographs and footballs or basketballs with some top names, whether legends in the sport or new athletes that are the up and coming, whether it's the Valkyries autographs or whether it was, I think it was like Steve Young's jacket that was autographed. I don't know what it was, but crazy stuff. Is that you?
So it's a combination. We had somebody who helped bring some of the items to us, but a lot of those items the team does outreach to. And, the Valkyries are a great example. They've been a great supporter. Jess Smith, the president of the Valkyries, is on our board. And so we reach out and we say, hey, could we have some items for the silent auction? And they give them to them. The 40 give them to us. The 49ers gave us tickets to the Monday night game with on-field access, which they don't sell that. And so our attendees got a chance to bid on those. We had a Steph Curry signed jersey. Steve Young has been a supporter, and so he's auctioned off a number of items as well. So a lot of that is all of us reaching out and saying, hey, who do we know? Who can we ask? And to your point, I'm not asking for me. I'm not asking you to give me the thing. I'm asking you to donate something that will allow us to get more young women out there coaching and leading and more kids playing in the process.
Speaking of kids, you got two daughters.
Yes.
And what are their ages, if you don't mind?
They're twins, so they're both 17, almost 18.
Okay. Do they want to follow in dad's footsteps in regards to coaching? Are they all ready?
So one of my daughters has said no, she doesn't have any
Yeah.
interest in it. And the other one has coached with us for probably 6 seasons. So she's a very experienced coach.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Beautiful that everyone's just encouraged to go whatever direction it is.
Yeah,
And
they get to both
wow.
there.
Okay, you mentioned, well, we just spoke about this event. What other events do you have lined up on your calendar for more exposure to the Women's Coaching Alliance or for fundraising events? What's coming up for the end of this year and into 2026?
So we will soon be launching our Giving Tuesday campaign, which is getting 200 donors for 200 coaches. We have a target of getting 200 young women out there coaching next year. This year we had 89, so that's a little bit more than doubling it. So we are being aggressive, but we know we have the interest in getting those coaches placed. So that'll be the next thing that folks will see. Then we're also looking at Super Bowl weekend or the Super Bowl 2 weeks. So we have a great partnership with 49ers Prep, and so we'll be working with them on doing a flag football skills clinic, probably the weekend before Super Bowl, and also a mom's clinic, which is one of the things we've done for a number of sports, and it's super fun. The idea is instead of it always just being the dads who are out there playing the sport with their kids, let's give the moms the basic skills of the sport that their kids play. So we've done it in basketball and soccer, and now we're going to do it in flag football and get moms out there playing, learning the basics of flag football so they can get out there and play flag with their kids. And we know that matters because moms are the decision makers, they're the ticket buyers and all the rest. So getting moms not only comfortable playing the game, but more knowledgeable about the game and the team and so on is super valuable. So we're working on that. We have a number of leadership academies that we run throughout the year to get our young women ready to coach. We're also looking at doing an event prior to World Cup, which will be here the middle of the year. We've got our annual benefit that it's coming up in October, and we usually have a whole bunch of other things in between.
Honestly, you've got the Triple Crown coming. You've got the Olympics in LA. You've got the Super Bowl at Levi Stadium,
Mhm.
and you've got World Cup. It's like, oh my gosh, it's so so
It's
like
very sport
over the
rich.
top. Oh my gosh, I could honestly see you getting some national coverage during the Super Bowl when they're doing all these different things. That would be great to see some women doing flag football out there at Levi. And wow. Okay, so we're coming up against the clock. Obviously, let's throw out ways not only to support, but how do we find more information, website, Instagram, all that stuff.
Yes, awesome. So we are womenscoachingalliance.org. So you can go to our website, you can go, our Instagram is the same. You can check us out on LinkedIn. So those are the best places to find us. If folks are interested in supporting the work that we do, here are the three ways that I always suggest. One is that young woman who is in your ecosystem, tap on her. If she's played a sport, tap her on the shoulder and say, you should go coach. We'd love it if she coaches with us, but what we know is that young women often need that nudge to get them involved into coaching. And just tell her that she's going to be great, and suggest to her that she go coach. Number two is mentor. Mentors are a key part of our program in supporting these young women to develop into leaders. And so raise your hand to mentor. It is a really manageable time commitment with just an outsized impact. And third is to donate. All of our coaches are paid, and that is the most expensive part of the work that we do. And so when we have donors who support us, that allows us to get more young women involved out there coaching and leading. So those are the best ways to support us. If you know of organizations who you think would be interested in supporting us, we're always happy to chat with those folks as well.
Fantastic. I'll make sure that information's in the description below the podcast. Pam, this is, thank you for all you're doing, first of all, for our community and for the world. It's just, you grow out of acts of dark areas, and that's where the light shines best, is coming out of that. Everything grows out of the things that we struggle with, and so thank you for being able to do that, and thank you for your time today. This has been a great conversation.
Thanks, Rocky. I so appreciate you giving me the platform, the chance to chat with you. It's really just been so much fun. So thanks again.
And just like that, we're at the end of another amazing episode. I want to thank Pam Baker for coming on and wish her all well with the Women's Coaching Alliance, especially next year with so many things coming up. Don't forget to check out my website, rockysnyder.com, if you're looking for previous episodes of Women in Sports or a whole bunch more. And check out my book, Return to Center, Strength Training to Realign the Body, Recover from Pain, and Achieve Optimal Performance. Here we go one more time with my sponsors. Remember to check out metabolicelite.co. Check out all the products they have on their website. Synapsin Pro is something I've been using to help stay focused without having to over-caffeinate myself. It keeps me in the zone so I can just really hone in on the things I need to achieve without feeling like, man, I gotta reach for an energy drink every 5 minutes. metabolicelite.co. And don't forget, Kinetic IQ. They've got markerless motion capture for morons like me. I can use their product with my iPhone or my iPad. I can look at posture analysis, movement analysis of any exercise, gait analysis. It gives me everything I could possibly want when tracking people's movements. So, check out kinetikiq.com.